Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the 1,775 poems of the Johnson edition of the poems of Emily Dickinson. We turn now to a little poem number 72, Glowing is Her Bonnet. And we're back to another one of these, what we have called the nature riddle poems. It isn't completely clear exactly who it is that she's referencing, although some scholars will point out that Emily's love of the seasons is here again played with, and a comparison is being made to two different ways for the seasons to pass. Let's enjoy it. Glowing is her bonnet, glowing is her cheek, glowing is her kirtle, yet she cannot speak. Better as the daisy from the summer hill vanish unrecorded, save by tearful rill, save by loving sunrise looking for her face, save by feet unnumbered pausing at the place. Now, this is a difficult poem to read if you don't have a sense of who the her is as the antecedent to the pronoun in the first line. And again, Emily loves these riddles. She plays with them all the time. We've already seen a number of these in the first 70 poems or 71 poems. And in that regards now, who is and what is it she's talking about? Well, many readers of this poem like to imagine that what she's talking about is autumn with the fall, with its magnificence. Notice, glowing is her, and you see the anaphoria here of repetition of glowing. Glowing is her bonnet, glowing is her cheek, describing a beautiful girl. Glowing is her kirtle, yet she cannot speak. Now, if it's autumn that she's referencing, that makes some sense because of the comparison that will happen next with better. In other words, better as the daisy. Go back to poem 28 and look at what we said about vanishing daisy. Of course, Emily loves her daisies, right? Better as the daisy from the summer hill vanish unrecorded. In other words, she says, I think if I had to choose which is the better way to go, it's not that brilliant autumn way, but rather the way the daisy goes. That is here, blooms, and then very, very quickly is going to be forgotten, right? Unnoticed. And in that regards, it's almost as if this is the setup to the famous poem on poem 288, where she says, I'm nobody, who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Why tell, they'd advertise, you know. How dreary to be somebody. How public, like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog. I think the game here is being set up for poem 288. When here she says, I think it's better to vanish unrecorded. Now, the word vanish, I think she could have borrowed the idea from Keats's Ode to a Nightingale. I think I've said that I think Keats stands behind a lot of her poems about death, about passing, about transformation. Here, vanish can be Keats's word from Ode to a Nightingale, fade, the F word of that poem, as we called it in our lectures on that. You can run that to ground at learnstrong.net. Vanish unrecorded, except, notice the word save 3 times, by tearful reel. In other words, somebody's going to probably miss that daisy. Saved by loving sunrise, days go on, looking for her face. Saved by feet unnumbered, pausing at the place. In other words, after the daisies are gone, you pause for a moment to say, there were daisies here, right? I think the point that she's making at 2A is that in the end, for Emily, it's better to fade or vanish away unnoticed, like the daisy, instead of the radiant or the glowing autumn. In other words, she's going to de-emphasize the majesty and elevate the simplicity of the daisy. I love it to be the anaphoria of the glowing, 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 and then she'll finish with the save, save, save. At 3A, how can we relate this idea to other titles? Well, I've mentioned Keats' Ode to a Nightingale and the fading that he talks about there as the bird is flying away with its song. But I'd like us to pause for a moment with Tennyson's In Memoriam. We've given lectures at learnstrong.net. Do you remember what he said? "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." I think that sentiment is being presented here as well. That it's better to be like the daisy, that can be appreciated for just a little bit of time, and then it goes away, and no one really remembers at all very much about the daisy. At 3B, what are your thoughts about this? you think is the best way to fade or to vanish? And in the end, is it probably better to go like a daisy? For all you daisy lovers, thank you.